It's the Q&A of GSM. Send in your questions, man. Welcome back, guys, to hashtag AskGSM here today for May 3rd, 2017, episode 179 here today. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Every single Wednesday right here on the show, I answer your questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube right here in the video. If you want to send in a question, tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a question on the comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And be sure to leave a comment on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So I got some bad news and I got some good news. I'm afraid I've got some bad news. So the bad news is that I got to go to class like a lot sooner than usual today. So the episode will be condensed like a bit more than it has been for the past couple of months now. Just because I got to go print out my final paper, which was fucking 20 pages long, which was ridiculous. It's not my thesis that was due last week. Senior struggle, my man, senior struggle. But beyond this week, again, the good news is that I'll be done. Next week, I'll still be here till the 20th for graduation. Next week, we might have Tom on, which is pretty great. I've had John on, I've had RJ on, we've had Jason on. The last remaining member of the Five Horsemen for me, including myself, I guess, is Tom. So if we can get him on next week, that would be amazing. We'll see, and we'll have more time to talk. He might put on some impersonations. He said he's been trying some stuff out, so it might be a very entertaining episode, to say the least. But at any rate, we'll get right into the questions for this week, waste no time. Emmanuel A. from YouTube. I remember Charlotte doing an ESPN interview and giving an interesting reason why she didn't click as a babyface. It's hard for her to come across as relatable to the fans. It's why she switched her character and finds it easier to pretend to be the person everyone already thinks I am versus being who I already am. Do you think there's some merit to this quote? Do you think babyfaces should be relatable? And do you think that's why someone like Roman Reigns struggles in becoming a beloved good guy? Absolutely. Like, Charlotte is spot on when she said that. I mean, there is something to being who you are. Like, I know Charlotte's a great person in real life, but she can't always be like that goody two. Like, we see Roman Reigns like in a laid back setting. He's like, oh my God, that's a cool fucking dude. I would get a drink with him. And I don't even drink. Like, I'm straight edge. That's how cool Roman Reigns is. But on TV, he just comes across like an asshole. Well, I mean, you can blame that on whatever you want, whether that's just Roman Reigns or the shit they're giving him to speak with, to talk with, the lines he's reading off. I kind of lean towards more of that. But whatever it is, he comes off like a douche. So absolutely, I mean, Roman Reigns, look at the fucking name, Roman Reigns. Like, Roman said it himself in that interview with Jericho. Listen in, man. I've just been a huge Jericho move for the past couple of hours, past couple of days, I guess. But they did a Talk is Jericho podcast over WrestleMania weekend. I think the Friday before. I was listening to it on my way to Orlando. And he said even the name Roman Reigns, it came from Corey Graves. It was his idea, I believe. And it's like, wow, that name just sounds like someone you want to fucking hate. And he was a heel originally in NXT. I mean, he was a heel in the main roster too when he first came up as part of the Shield. But as a singles guy in NXT, he was wearing suits and shit. It's like, we want that Roman Reigns on the main roster. But they want to shove him down our throats as the fucking, as the guy, which I think will work eventually unless you turn him, if you can turn him heel right now. But they're just doing further damage to the guy by keeping him face for as long as he has been and for as long as he will be. But I completely agree. Charlotte she's like she's a decent, protagonist now because people just tend to like her now. They've come to respect her. But when she first came up, she was very bland. And she's fucking Ric Flair's daughter. How can you not hate that with the robes and shit? It was perfect for Charlotte and was one of the best bad guys, if not the best bad guy in WWE at the time that she was a heel, if only a couple of months ago. Prince5835, their question was, got a couple questions here. Why do fans want Sasha to turn heel so badly? Didn't WWE already try that and the fans chanted, we want Sasha, and that's why she turned babyface in the first place? Well, people chanted we want Sasha because she was never on fucking TV. Like the whole Divas Revolution, 6-woman tag team, 8-woman tag team matches, all this other shit. It's like, who fucking cares? And she was never on TV. She was barely on TV. She was I don't think she wrestled a single pay-per-view match. I know she wrestled at Battleground and SummerSlam, but she wasn't at Night of Champions. She wasn't at Hell in a Cell. Pretty sure she wasn't at Survivor Series. She wrestled a kickoff match in Boston in her hometown at TLC when we were there. RJ and I were there, which was great. And then she finally came back at the Rumble. It's like, this girl's perfectly healthy. Why isn't she on TV? So that's why people were chanting, we want Sasha. And then they turned her face. And she's popular, but she's way better as a heel. Like, this has always been the case. Like, people will love a heel, and they're like, we love you, and they'll cheer him, and then they'll turn him face. Like, yeah, we don't really love you anymore because you were better as a bad guy, It's kind of the case with Sasha. She's a way better bad guy, girl, whatever, bad girl. She's an awesome heel, so I hope they turn her. She needs to turn. She's just very stale as a babyface. The whole thing with Bayley is just fucking nauseating. I love Bayley. I really like Sasha, but they were like, oh, goody two-shoes, goody two-shoes friendship, all that other nauseating bullshit is just terrible. So hopefully she turns heel eventually. Now, I know she will. It's really only a matter of when and not if. His second question, what happened to the big monster guys in WWE that used to punch superstars like Kane or Big Show were? That's Braun Strowman, isn't it? I mean, the big monster guys, like we really haven't had a huge big monster guy to replace Big Show, Kane, or Mark Henry. Since them, really, I mean, they've tried to have a few guys like Khali, who was fucking terrible. And you can say what you want about Henry Kane and Big Show, but they're way better than Khali ever was. They got way better character development. I mean, face, heel turn, all that other shit. Yeah, all that aside, they can put on way better matches than fucking Khali could. But I think they have one in Braun Strowman. I think if they can keep the course with Strowman, I know he won clean at Payback on Sunday, which was great in the main event against Roman Reigns. If they can keep the course with him and not fuck him up in the next couple of months, and he doesn't get squashed by Brock in 2 minutes of fucking great balls of fire, good God. But, or great goodness, or whatever the catchphrase. I know it's an actual song. There's lyrics that go to it. Good gracious, or goodness gracious, whatever. So anyway, I think he can be that next big monster, really. And I'll talk more about him in a moment. I think someone else asked the question about Braun that I'll get to momentarily. His next question, do you think old episodes of TNA Impact will be on the Fight Network soon? I'm not sure what the deal is there. I don't know if you've heard something I haven't. I would love for that to be the case. I mean, a TNA network would bomb because they have such a small audience nowadays that wouldn't work. But I would love to see, like, that's part of the reason, really the only reason why I wanted WWE to see them buy TNA last year, Impact Wrestling, whatever, was not to see them go out of business or whatever, even more so than seeing the talents in WWE, is for the tape library. I would love to see those old pay-per-views. And I mean, the older ones that I wasn't a fan for, like 05 and shit, but even like 2012. Like, I loved TNA in 2012. Like, even more so than WWE, I was singing their praises. I thought the product for WWE sucked in the summer, for the most part, until like Raw 1000. But before that, TNA was fucking killing it week to week. Like, going live, they had Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, James Storm, Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy. You name them, they had them. And it was a great show. So I hope they do add old episodes of Impact. I know they kind of did it early on to YouTube, like the Asylum days or whatever, but I really have no interest in that. So maybe soon we'll see. We'll see what the relationship is like between Anthem and TNA to see if they can make that happen soon, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Next question, what was it like being the only one in your family obsessed with wrestling growing up? So if I haven't talked to, I'll keep it short. I don't have too much time, like I said. But I know I've talked about it here on the channel before, or where, I'm sure I've talked about it here on the channel, definitely in another outlet, like a random video blog or something. But it's cool and not so cool at the same time. Like, I know you will have, like, I think I talked about an injection of inspiration like about a month ago, but whatever. But so basically, again, the good and the bad of it. The bad of it is the obvious. Like, you're thinking, oh my God, you're the only one in your family that likes wrestling. Can people tolerate it? Do they even like it? You have no one to share your thoughts with and watch the shows with and stuff. And that is true. Like, my little brother, my younger brother, Jackson, who is 4.5 years younger than I am, was a big fan when we first started, watching it together. For about a year or two, then he kind of fell out of it. I mean, he grew up. I mean, if I was his age, maybe I would have done the same thing, which is why I'm kind of happy I started watching it when I did in like 7th, 8th grade, and he started watching in like 4th, 5th grade. And when everyone else grew out of it, so did he. But anyway, so other than that, I really was the only one in my household that liked wrestling. My mom fucking hated wrestling. She blamed it for everything. But pretty much anyone else, like my dad, my stepdad, my brothers would tolerate it. They've been to shows with me. Some of them have enjoyed it. My mom went to one show. She fucking hated it. Can't blame her. It was a SmackDown on like a late Tuesday night, and the kids and shit, we were sitting near ringside. It was not the greatest show of all time, environment-wise. And like Providence, Dunkin' Donuts, a great arena though. So that is one thing. Like, I know that like there's a general perception that you feel alone in liking wrestling in your family, but then you find people who do like, and it's like finding a fellow baseball fan or football fan is so easy because pretty much everyone watches that shit. But finding a fellow wrestling fan in this day and age is special. Like, you share that special bond, and I mean it can be very hit or miss. They can be like, there's a lot of wrestling fans out there that are weirdos. I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm sure I'm a weirdo. So I am a weirdo, but not as weird as some people. But no, when you, like, I found Jason, he was a wrestling fan, Tom, RJ, John, like, those are my 4 best friends, 4 of my best 4 wrestling friends even. that like wrestling, and I've kind of shared my thoughts and passions with them. But at the same time, it's kind of cool being the only one in your family in your social circle that likes wrestling. Like, you're the wrestling guy, and you don't want to be labeled as just the wrestling guy or girl or whatever, but it's kind of cool being the only one. I like to like certain things that no one else likes. Like, that's the type of person I am. I don't go with the flow. I kind of go against the grain and like my own stuff. I like things that most other people don't, that most other people, not that they don't like, but just haven't heard of or whatever, like certain bands and shit. I hate to like certain things that everyone else likes. Unless it's like a movie or something, that's kind of different. But with wrestling, I'm like, I kind of feel unique and special in being the only one in my social circle and family, for the most part, that is a big wrestling fan. Captain Sunshine from YouTube. So I'm just about done with Bray Wyatt. I mean, when you need the Bollywood Boys and Jinder Mahal doing weak title belt shots to the shoulders so you can win your own gimmick match, the threat level is gone. Honestly, who else was waiting for Kurt Angle to tackle him during the promo on Raw? So I kind of reached that point a long time ago with Bray Wyatt. It was kind of a running gag here on the show for so long. What's next for the Wyatt family? Because who could the fucking possibly care? They were fucking losing week after week, match after match. Someone put together a compilation of all the matches where Bray Wyatt would do like the spooky promos for in like the weeks leading up to the match, and then he would lose. It was so funny because it's so true. Like, he speaks all this gibberish and all this other bullshit, and then he fucking loses when it matters most. That's the Bray Wyatt character. I don't know if that would change if he ever went babyface, and I highly doubt the feud with Finn Balor will be any different. I'm looking forward to it. It's something fresh. It's something new. Finn Balor quite honestly should win that feud. But I have no doubt he's going to lose after Bray Wyatt just won the House of Horrors match, which wasn't that bad. I'll talk about that more momentarily. But with Bray Wyatt, yeah, it's hard to care when he really rarely wins when it matters most. He got a championship run, which was great, but it lasted a month. The only purpose it served was to hand the championship off to Randy Orton at WrestleMania. So he was only really keeping it warm for the Viper. But yeah, I do agree. It's kind of hard to care about Bray Wyatt. I do care about him more now than 6 months ago when he was literally fucking losing to Kane at Backlash. Terrible. Absolutely atrocious. But besides that, now at least he has some sort of direction. I mean, that's for better or for worse. The Orton feud was terrible, towards the end anyway. Hopefully the Finn Balor feud is better, but I do agree it is hard to care about Bray Wyatt. Their second question, Sheamus and Cesaro have a point about fans caring more about the past and worrying more about the future than paying attention to the present. I'm guilty of it too because WWE's present is a nightmare. Just last Sunday, I saw Randy Orton sell a fridge and then no-sell that fridge to magically teleport. Can you blame us? You're just kind of telling a joke, but no, that's true. I think that's a reason why a lot of people look towards the past and towards the future, because the present can sometimes kind of fucking suck, and that's really all that you can do in the larger scheme of things is look forward to the future. Like, hey, you know what? Right now, the program kind of fucking sucks, but you know it's going to get better. So you do have to, I will say this, some people kind of neglect to appreciate the things we have. I mean, look at the roster we have right now. And I'll make a video about this at some other time, maybe for the random video blog down the road. But it's like, look at the roster we have right now. We have Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, fucking AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Kurt Angle's Raw GM. We have the fucking Hardy Boys back. We have the Revival in the main roster, American Alpha, the Usos. The list goes on and on. Roman Reigns, John Cena's still here. Randy Orton's still putting on good matches. We have Bray Wyatt. It's like, oh my God. Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Charlotte. It's like, holy shit, Becky Lynch. That's a great fucking roster of men and women right there. So I do agree it sometimes is hard to live in the present, but look at what we have right now. Like, this is why we can't have nice things. We have nice things right now, so appreciate what we have at the moment. Elena the Y, did you hear about that Vince McMahon biopic? I did. I thought it was funny as fuck. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go out of your way to read the script, or at least parts of the script. People posted, excerpts and shit on Twitter, and it's the absolute funniest fucking thing that I've seen in quite some time. Just in terms of, like, what was, stretching the truth, I think is a light way of putting it, in terms of what was reimagined, so to speak. It's pretty fucking funny. When you read... I will spoil this, a spoiler alert, but when you read about Linda McMahon talking about Hulk Hogan doing butt stuff, how can you not help but laugh? Really. Like, you heard me correctly. I thought it was fucking hilarious. I'm going to watch it. I'm intrigued. They're not going to do it the right way. I know there's a lot of Vince McMahon stuff and about, like, how he was potentially abused as a child by his mother and his awful stepfather and shit. So I doubt they're going to touch that, but it'll be interesting nevertheless. Brandon A., also from YouTube, is going to put the WrestleMania questions on a halt for this week, but he's got a couple fun questions. Not that the WrestleMania questions aren't fun, but anyway, his questions are, How do you think WWE should book Greg Hamilton's monster push that he is surely going to get after defeating the Fink streak at WrestleMania? Look at what happened with Brock Lesnar, and he defeated Undertaker with a 21-0 record, whereas Howard Finkel had a 32-0 record. Yeah, it was kind of sad Finkel wasn't at WrestleMania. I talked about that last week or the week before or whatever. But yeah, Greg Hamilton could be the next Fink. I honestly like Mike Rome better. I know he's more of an interviewer. The dude that was in the Jericho segment, if people don't know the name. He's the Raw interviewer. He was in the segment backstage with Jericho after Payback on the YouTube channel with Tom Phillips. He does some ring announcing, I think, for NXT. I enjoy him. I like Greg Hamilton too, but I've come to enjoy Mike Rome more. I don't know. I've been more of a male announcer guy. I like Lillian. JoJo's good. I liked Eden when she was still there, Cody Rhodes' wife. But I don't know. I like the men guys more. I love Justin Roberts, and Howard Finkel's a fucking legend too, obviously. But no, that's we'll see if Greg Hamilton stays in that spot going forward as the go-to male announcer for announcing the Hall of Fame and shit. His next question: how can you rank these funny botched promos in order? These 3 funny botched promos: Kalisto's Lucha thing, 2 Seth Rollins' inanimate object promo, and 3 Hulk Hogan's If You Actually Think promo. Each one of these promos had me in tears laughing so hard at some point. So I had to look up the last 2 because I didn't know what you were talking about. I know I saw the Hulk Hogan Vince one. That's the Hulk Hogan one. It was during their feud leading up to WrestleMania or after WrestleMania. And he's like, if you actually think if I was at the right place at the right time, or no, wait, that's not it. It's the right place at the wrong time. And he's like fucking up. And he's like, I was the right guy. And I was like, oh my God, this is a train wreck. But it's typical Hulk Hogan. He fucks up his lines. And it's just so fucking funny. That was great. I was laughing at that this morning when I was reminded of it by you. And I looked it up. The Lucha thing I've seen obviously a million times. The Seth Rollins inanimate object promo. Him when he fucked up the inanimate object line was funny. But how he handled it was even better. It's like Kevin Owens a couple of years ago when he was talking about Hideo Itami, I think, or whatever it was. I think he was talking about Finn Balor. Hideo Itami was I don't remember Hideo Itami and Kevin Owens ever feuding, so I don't know why this would have been said. But they were having a back and forth promo exchange or whatever, and Kevin Owens fucked up his line. He's like, oh, sorry I botched that, like Hideo Itami botches the English language or something like that. And I thought it was so fucking funny. It was a great line. Kevin Owens is so witty and so awesome on the mic. But anyway, of these 3, the Hulk Hogan one was funny. Rollins being a great heel made that funny. So if I had to rank them, the Rollins one at number 3, Hulk Hogan at 2. The Lucha thing was so fucking funny. John and I had to rewind it when we watched the draft or the post-draft, whatever, on the network. That I watched that one live. I watched the Rollins one live, but I forgot about it until you reminded me of it. The Lucha thing was so funny. I rewatched that back just recently. And it was just so fucking funny. He's like, fuck, damn it, shit. And he's just so... I mean, I think I talked about that like a week or 2 ago. Someone asked me about Kalisto and his just awful promos and his terrible mic skills. So that's got to be far and away number 1 for me. His next question kind of relates to question 3, but are there any moments in your life where you can recall laughing so hard that you were in tears and literally was rolling on the floor laughing with your stomach hurting? Oh, that's a good question. Wrestling-wise, I don't think so. Not that hard, anyway. In terms of something that someone said, I'll give a shout-out to Mr. Marceau Arce here. It was almost exactly a year ago, and I won't give the exact context of what happened, but he was having a text exchange with someone, and he's like, how'd your weekend go? And she's like, worst of my life, how was yours? And RJ said, very relaxing. And when he told me that, I fucking died. And we still joke about it a year later over text and shit. So funny. Greatest Mr. Marceau quote of all time. Still working on getting a t-shirt with that on it. Very relaxing when he said that to the worst weekend of my life. I still laugh thinking about it now. I think it was almost around that time too. Got to give a shout out to @JamieLeeMack. We've talked with him. We've talked before on Wrestle Rate and Radio. A great friend of mine for the past 5 years on Twitter. And it was on the kickoff show, I think, for Payback. And you know when Booker T does the Payback pre-show shit, and he has like the shucky ducky quack quack or whatever it is, and he just tweeted like, did I just see a rubber ducky with fucking dreadlocks or something like that? And I fucking died when I saw that tweet from Jamie. That was really funny. Had me cracking it for a long time. Again, wrestling wise, not so much. I love like dub videos. There's a YouTuber on here called It's Real 85, And I got into his work through dubs that he did of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the old movies from years ago, which were really funny. But then I've stayed subscribed to him through dubs that he does of like GTA and the 2K games, not WWE, like the fucking basketball games. And he also did like animal dubs of like animals, talking and shit or whatever, both animated in real life and stuff. And I watched that a couple of months ago, and I was crying, literally crying. I was laughing so hard. So I'll check those out when you get a chance. And I don't laugh that hard that often, but that was really funny. Next question: If you put every single WrestleMania match in a generator, what would come out as the exact average of all the matches in WrestleMania history as far as match quality? It probably wouldn't be too good. There's so many matches on an average WrestleMania that more often than not, a lot of those matches aren't that good. They're either good or pretty bad. Very rarely do you have a great match. I mean, you have great matches on each WrestleMania, but it's like one of the 10 matches they have, either if not 2 or 3. So it would be probably below average if you had to put all the matches in a generator, so to speak. I mean, you put Michaels and Taker in there, arguably the greatest match of all time. Bumps it up a little bit simply for being at WrestleMania, for simply taking place at WrestleMania. But that aside, it would still be below average. Well, below average, probably for some people, I would argue. They would argue. And his last question here: favorite all-time superhero and supervillain. I'm not a big comic book guy. I am looking forward to Guardians, though. I've talked about that before. Guardians 2 I've been literally counting down for since the first one came out 2.5 years ago. My third favorite movie of all time, which I've also talked about here on the show, which was, again, great movie. Looking forward to the sequel I think I'm watching it Friday, May 5th. So, again, really, really, really excited for that. Other than maybe like Drax, because I just fucking love Batista. I get a lot of shit for this, but I like Hawkeye. I like the Avengers movies a lot. I thought 1 was better than 2. I'm looking forward to the third one, like that's split in 2 parts, whatever. It's going to be fucking awesome. But I don't know, I really liked Hawkeye. I get a lot of shit for that. Hawkeye gets a lot of shit, but I really like Hawkeye. Supervillain? I don't know. That's I know we're talking not just Marvel here, but there's not like, I guess the Joker. The Joker was amazing. I love the Dark Knight movies, so probably the Joker. Andre G from Facebook, what's the point of the United Kingdom Championship if he's only defended it twice so far? I mean, they don't have their own show yet, so I assume it's going to be more regularly when they have their own show, which I heard debuts this month. I'm not exactly sure. It might be a little later on. It might be late May. It might be early June. So we'll have to wait a couple months. I guess we'll just wait and see. But yeah, for right now, I mean, it's only happening every few months. So we just got to wait and see in terms of, I mean, they've had it on NXT and shit, so it's just going to take more time than it would until they have their own show, which might be another month or so. But he also asked, I thought the WWE Championship was on the line at Payback, but Bray Wyatt is not champion. What happened to his rematch clause? I don't know. They never explained it. They never said anything about it, so I'm not exactly sure what happened there. I mean, I guess they probably assumed that Bray was going to win, so they wanted to take the championship off the line, but they never bothered to explain it. Like, I would get if they said, oh, it's a Raw and a SmackDown guy, so then, you can't defend the World Championship in a match like that, whatever. But it's like, fucking explain it at the very least. You know what I mean? So I thought that was dumb. But yeah, no, I mean, the match ended up being better than I thought it would be, which I'll talk about again a little later on when someone else asked about it. But yeah, no, they never even fucking bothered to explain why the title was not on the line, because it was originally advertised. It's not like it was never advertised. The match was originally built as a title fucking match, and then they just never explained anything else about it again in terms of being a championship match. It's like, what the fuck? It's like they're insulting our intelligence, so... yeah, maybe just because he's on Raw now, he can't get it. I don't fucking know. But then Jericho had his rematch, and Owens went to SmackDown, but the match was made. But fucking, it's whatever fits their narrative, whatever's convenient for the fucking company. I guess that's the real lesson to be learned here. Mark S. from Facebook's got a couple more questions. When you said last week that you see options in wrestling terms for Braun Strowman, could you see him turn face in the future and be that big, lovable guy and a major asset to the company like Big Show? He shouldn't. I mean, I could very well see them going down that route after Vince McMahon remembers that he was a rosebud all those years ago. Really, like, if you go back and watch NXT, like, from 2014, and like watch back all the footage of Braun Strowman as a rosebud, it's fucking hilarious watching like where he is now, like 3 or 4 years ago. It's all on the network. It's amazing. So I hope not. Like, that's where they went. I mean, Big Show's great. Like, he's lasted, he's lasted this long, and he's really stood the test of time. But come on, how many times have they damaged this character? Like, people care about the Big Show because it's the Big Show. He's an attraction. But it's fucking, they turned him face and heel so many times, people just stopped caring. They got to keep Braun Strowman. I'm not saying he can't turn face down the line. He's popular now. But, it's like fucking, really, Jesus Christ. It's like, oh my God, like if they turn him face, it'd be the kiss of death. So hopefully that's not the big lovable guy. Oh God, that sounds terrible. So I really hope not, ever. Maybe down the line, but big lovable guy. God damn it, hopefully not. That's where they went wrong with Big Show, like soon after he debuted. And he was never the same since. He hasn't been the same since. His second question, to avoid multiple women's matches every year at WrestleMania, would a women's Money in the Bank ladder match? You didn't say ladder, I put that in there myself, but you did say Money in the Bank match. I assume you mean ladder. Would it be good at WrestleMania every year to avoid repetition and be across both brands, meaning the winner could cash in either champion? I don't know how many times I've talked about this. I just do not like the idea of a women's Money in the Bank ladder match, especially with two brands. Keep the brands as separate as possible. Like, I understand doing one Money in the Bank ladder match and then cashing it in on your respective champion, but they're not even doing that. With the women, like, again, if you have the perfect crop of women, and they have a lot of great women's wrestlers, but they also have a lot that aren't so good. Like, if you put Alicia Fox, Dana Brooke, Lana, God forbid, if Eva Marie was to come back and you put her in there, that would be atrocious. Carmella, God fucking damn it, like Tamina, they would kill each other. It would only have to be the good wrestlers, but you can't only put, like, the best workers in there, you know? So no, I have never really been high on the idea. I'm all for doing more women's, like Hell in the Cell women's match, I'm all for. Women's ladder match, sure. With the right two women, but a women's Money in the Bank ladder match, I'm not really all that interested. I think it'd be more of a safety hazard than anything else. His next question, have you ever seen a tag team championship ladder match and was it any good? Dude, we just saw one at WrestleMania. I mean, I don't know. Next question, Push repackage release, Bo Dallas, Darren Young, and the Golden Truth. Push Bo Dallas, I think if they put him with, that's not, we've been talking about this for years. Solomonster recently pitched it, and I heard the idea again. I thought it was great, but people have been talking about it for years, though. Putting Dallas with Bray Wyatt as part of a new Wyatt family or a tag team or whatever, I think would be great. He's got a lot of untapped potential. Not like WWE champion Bo Dallas, but with Bray Wyatt, it could be a cool pairing. Repackaged Darren Young. He's kind of already been repackaged, but they didn't do it the right way. And he was getting over at first, and then they fucked him over, and he did the whole thing with Titus, and no one gave a shit anymore. Just release Golden Truth. Like, Goldust and R-Truth, I like Goldust, but they have just serve zero purpose. Just fire them from a wrestling role and just put them in, or not fire them, but put them in backstage roles, put them as trainers. I heard Goldust wanted to be a trainer, but they said no. It's like, what use does he have on the roster? He's a fucking jobber. He's never on TV. So why even bother? His last question here, do you see authors of Pain and Sanity clashing down the line, and would you be for or against it? It wouldn't be a bad idea. I just don't know if the matches would be that good. Like, authors of Pain are getting better. They're not great yet. They're good. They're getting better, but they have to work with the right tag teams. Like, they have awesome chemistry with other tag teams like DIY and the Revival, even Team 6-1. Them and Sanity, it's not exactly Shield and Wyatt family. I'll say that much. So, not too thrilled about that. I would like Sanity in the Wyatt family, or Authors of Pain in Wyatt family, or Authors of Pain versus, what's that new tag team? Heavy Machinery? I know that was rumored at one point to build to that as a feud with the tag titles in NXT. That I would be all for. But Sanity, the Authors of Pain, not so much. At E13, I mean, that could surprise me, I don't know, but I'm just not excited for it on paper. At E13A, we'll move into the Twitter questions now to finish up. How do you feel about Dean Ambrose, or how did you feel about Dean Ambrose's backstage segments with The Miz, Seth Rollins, and Finn Balor on Raw? Honestly, I thought they were fine. I mean, Dean Ambrose should stop with the cute comedy bullshit and focus more on serious stuff, but for what these were worth, I thought they were fine. They gave, ample amount of time to each guy in the match, gave them mic time, why they should win. Ambrose is going to be Ambrose. I think a heel turn he would benefit greatly from. But, no, Rollins and Balor and Miz, I thought all got good enough time on the mic, so leading up to the IC title match in the main event, I thought it was a good way to hype up the match, which was fucking amazing, so I liked it. His second question, how did you feel about the Fashion Files segment on SmackDown? I enjoyed it. I saw a lot of praise for it on Twitter, actually, too. I like Breezango. I think they can be very entertaining. I thought their stuff on YouTube was funnier than this. This feels like it was more WWE produced, and the stuff on YouTube was more them. But it was still good. Like, if you look in the background, you see, like, classy Freddie Blassie and fucking pictures of Vince McMahon when it went in his mugshot from a couple of years ago on Raw. That was pretty funny. I don't know how many people noticed that. I mean, it's pretty hard to miss. But I thought that was great. So I enjoyed it. Again, I'm glad they're doing more with these guys. With Breezango and even Jinder Mahal. I don't really care too much about Jinder, but with Breezango, they have a lot to offer. They're great athletes. I wish they would tone down the goofy shit a little bit, but this was funny, so I can't complain. A little character development goes a long way. At Scarlet1 from Twitter, is the House of Horrors match a worst match ever candidate? It's not. We've seen far fucking worse. I know a lot of people, either you liked it or you hated it. It could have been a lot worse. I didn't love the match, but I liked the first part a hell of a lot more than the second. Even the second part was kept short and sweet in the ring, so I can't complain why it won, albeit via dirty means, but whatever, via interference, but it is what it is. A win's a win, I guess. Even though it doesn't mean that much, it was non-title, but whatever. The first part was not that bad. It could have been far fucking worse. Yes, Final Deletion was far and away way better than this, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, so I will say that much. It's not the worst thing ever. We've seen far worse matches in WWE. Like, let's not get ahead of it. The WrestleMania match was the drizzling shits. Where was that question at WrestleMania? Why wasn't that a part of the worst match ever conversation? That was terrible. That was fucking atrocious. That's what you should be calling the worst match ever, not the House of Horrors. That was... They made the most of it and they tried, so I'll give them, A for effort. At Reborn Again, his question was, do you think Jinder winning the WWE title at Backlash would kill the SmackDown Live brand? I don't know if it would kill SmackDown, but it certainly wouldn't do it many favors. I know SmackDown scored a very low rating last week or this week. I think it was last week. Today's only Wednesday. I'm pretty sure it was last week. I doubt it has much to do with Jinder. It might. I don't know. I honestly have zero interest in seeing Jinder as champion right now. But then again, Orton's not the most compelling world champion either as a babyface. Even as a heel, I could not possibly give two shits. At least at this stage of his career. So again, I don't think it would kill SmackDown, but it wouldn't do the brand any favors. So if they put the belt on him, have him feud with Rusev, if they want to do that feud, that's fine, but it's not really a WWE Championship caliber match. Like, if they do it solely for the shock factor, like, fuck you. Like, that makes no sense. I get they're trying to push Jinder to, like, target their Indian market or whatever. Like, that's great, but Jinder just does nothing for me. If Sami Zayn can't get a good match out of him, then that's a problem. They had a passable match on SmackDown, but it was far from good. And I saw Jinder laid in fucking more elbows to Sami Zayn's head. Like, after the whole thing with Finn Balor a couple weeks ago, he smacked him right in the side of the fucking head. So you kidding me? But, yeah, no, I don't know if it would kill SmackDown, but it would not certainly do it any favors. I'll say that much. The second question, with a UK-based show, a women's tournament, and maybe more takeover events, is WWE in danger of draining the audience's energy? They already have. I mean, I'll give credit where credit is due. At NJWade_ on Twitter, Noah, my good buddy Noah, he asked that question many months ago about WWE oversaturating the market and offering too many shows. Is there such thing as offering too much wrestling? There is. There absolutely is. I would be, honestly, if they cut out 205 Live, I wouldn't be sad about it. Or if they cut out, another hour of wrestling or whatever from Raw, I wouldn't cry. I'm still going to watch all the shows. I cover all the shows. I enjoy the shows more often than not. But still, I think a lot of this is just way too much. With the fucking UK show coming up, it's a lot of wrestling. And I'll be watching that to cover it. But it's a lot. Yeah, and I mean, people do, and Noah's question was a bit different. He's like, do they drive people away and offering too much wrestling? And they do. People just stop watching. They just get too much wrestling. It's like you eat too much pizza and you just kind of get sick of it after a while. And you just stop eating it altogether for like months on end, and then you eventually get back into it. You're like, what does pizza taste like? I forgot. And then you get back in when you like it again. And you just kind of eat when you can. And that's kind of the same thing with wrestling. I feel like people like watch it all and then just kind of get their fill, stop watching altogether, and then get back into it and watch some of it. I feel like that's kind of a trend for a lot of people. So, yeah, if it hasn't already happened, then it will very, 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 very soon. At Sean Markistic, that was a tongue twister, at Sean Markistic, excuse me. His question was, thoughts on Chris Jericho's send-off? I thought it was great. I thought it was fine. I mean, it was pretty predictable that Jericho was leaving and that he was dropping the championship, but the match was great. He put over Owens. A very familiar foe on the way out. I thought the attack was awesome. Put a new edge on Owens heading into the AJ Styles match at Backlash. Owens is great. Styles is great. Jericho is awesome. Sad to see Jericho go, but I'm sure he will be back. I mean, he knows this run was amazing. So he will be back sooner rather than later. I can bet your ass on that. You can bet your ass on that. Maybe before SummerSlam. I wouldn't be shocked, so we'll see. But, no, the send-off itself, that was really well done. So hopefully we do see him at some point in the next few months on the SmackDown brand, which would be pretty cool. But, yeah, no, I'm going to miss Jericho. It's the Farewell of Jericho. Say goodbye, man. And quick side note, check out the backstage segment with him, Tom Phillips, Mike Rome, and Kurt Angle on on their YouTube channel from after Payback on Sunday. Honestly, one of the greatest backstage segments I've ever seen. Like, I've watched it a few times, and I was laughing my ass off. It was that fucking funny, so check it out when you can. Second question, thoughts on Jinder Mahal versus the Orton feud so far? It's been fine. I thought they progressed the feud well at the expense of Wyatt, but it is what it is. They furthered the feud well at Payback. They didn't do much this week as Orton was quote-unquote hurt or whatever at the pay-per-view with the belt shot and whatever, so he wasn't on the show. It's been fine. Mahal's mic work does nothing for me. His in-ring work does nothing for me. But the presentation of his character has gotten better. I thought the alliance with the Bollywood boys, the Singh brothers, whatever, is great. I think that's been really well done. So the matches, I don't think it's going to be anything special at all, quite honestly. But the feud's been fine. I can't complain. I still can't see Mahal. I mean, I can see him winning, but he's not still a big enough threat in my mind, even with a win in the six-pack challenge and over Sami Zayn this past week. But at least they're trying, so I'll give them credit where credit is due. We'll finish off here with two last questions from Mr. Singleton16. With Raw's viewership dropping even lower than last week, what do you think about fans making excuses for why this is happening? I mean, no excuses. I mean, the ratings sucked. I thought the show was actually pretty good. I thought it was a really enjoyable follow-up to the pay-per-view. And the main event was really the only thing really worth watching, the opening segment. Everything else in between was kind of like mediocre. I thought it was still a good show overall. The rating dropping, it's hard to cite a reason why. Like, people say, oh, it's because Lesnar's not on the show, or this or that. It's like, fuck people. It's like, just because people are losing interest, that's it. I mean, the show's just not all that compelling. I don't know what to tell you. It's been good, but it's not lighting the world on fire, so the decreasing Raw ratings does not surprise me at all. They get their highest rating in months, and then they get their lowest rating all year. It's like, it's a fucking, it's a roller coaster for the ratings. That's what it is. I don't pay too much attention to the ratings. I watch when I can. I watch all the time, pretty much, whenever I can, so, which is more often than not. So I'm doing my part. Why really worry about the ratings? Whether they're high or they're low. If they're high, great. If they're low, whatever. Work on it for next week. Like, I know they really worry about that shit for, like, ad revenue and their upcoming deal with USA Network and shit, but there's nothing I can do, so I don't really worry too much about it. But, yeah, for the excuses, it was a post-pay-per-view edition of Raw. That's not good. Usually the rating goes up, not down. It's a fucking problem. There really is no excuse. I don't know if the show I don't know. Maybe there's just no interest. It's not that the product's terrible right now. It's actually been pretty good in my opinion, but I don't know. I'm not the one that's, determining the ratings. I don't know. Last question, from Mr. Singleton16. Do you think it's a good idea to not have Shinsuke Nakamura on SmackDown for weeks at a time? How can fans get to know this guy if he's not there? It's not a bad idea. If anything, it actually kind of prevents overexposure. Like, if you're on the show 4 or 5 times in one night, it's like, okay, fucking buddy, we've seen enough of you. Like, go away. I do agree he should be on SmackDown more. But how much, really, though, at this point in time, how much can he really be doing? Because he's not wrestling until Backlash. We already know that. So what, is he going to cut another promo and be interrupted by Dolph Ziggler? I have no interest. Ziggler's promos fucking suck in 2017. At least the Michael Jackson one was terrible anyway. So he has not cut a compelling promo in at least 4 years for me. So on TV anyway. So yeah, I mean, there's really not much more they could do with Nakamura. They still have, I think, 2 more SmackDowns. So beyond that point, maybe he'll be on the SmackDown more. But they did air a video package for him, so it's not like he wasn't on the show at all. I mean, he didn't appear in person on the show, but they did air something in his absence, so I do appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, he should have more of a presence on SmackDown, but at the same time, it's kind of nice. Now, it's kind of like what we saw from him in NXT. He wasn't on every show. In NXT, you're not on every show every week for the most part. And that's why people don't feel overexposed. They kind of feel special to an extent because they're not on every single fucking week in 10 segments in 3 hours. And that does it, guys, for hashtag AskGSM here today for May 3rd, 2017, episode 179. Again, looking forward to Guardians on Friday. There's a lot of great stuff coming down the pike. Enjoyed Payback. Looking forward to War of the Worlds, the Ring of Honor pay-per-view next Friday. That should be great. What else is coming up? Oh, yeah, fucking Graduation. I'm looking forward to that, too. That's on May 20th. The exact 6-year anniversary of Macho Man's death, too, which is eerie considering they play Pomp and Circumstance at the thing. But anyway, I'm rambling here. I got to go pass in the paper. Have an awesome week, guys. And last but not least, if you want to send in a question to the show, tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRam with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post. I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but not least, drop a comment on this very video and I'll include your question in next week's edition. Send in your questions, man. So just leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I may not put you on the list. We'll see. Time will tell. But anyway, guys, have an amazing week. I'm Graham Giuseppe Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.